for you. But first off, I love what you're doing. I love your book. And
Thank you.
in the first 5 minutes of reading his book, I knew you knew exactly what you were talking about.
Thanks.
Because I'm a trainer, but your method goes against everything I was taught. But what I've been researching recently made complete sense with your method. So does that,
Cool.
It
It does make sense, and it's compatible with training regimens. It's just that there's a lot of willpower. In fact, as a trainer, a lot of times what you're doing is you're pushing people to like use more willpower, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can like take away some of the food willpower so they can put more of it into the workout, it seems like it's less effort overall.
Right, and I was talking mainly about calories in, calories out, that big thermodynamics,
Yeah.
which you've proven to be inaccurate.
One of the biggest data points, because a lot of people who are into fitness are like, no, it's calories.
Right.
But there's this thing that they use in cows, and it's called feed efficiency ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And if they give the cow antibiotics, the cow gets fat on 30% less calories. Like, if that is possible, then calories in, calories out is not possible.
Right.
And since the ranchers are doing this because they make a lot of money by feeding antibiotics to cows, we know it's possible.
Right.
So that means there's more to it than just calories. At the same time, you throw someone into a calorie chamber where you measure every calorie that they poop and breathe and heat things up, it actually, calories do matter. But we're not a closed system, and that's why we have this disconnect between the calories in, calories out, like 1970s thinking, and then the more modern food quality matters.
Right, right. And I totally believe in your method after doing it for, it's probably been only 4 months, but I've seen a huge difference in myself.
Oh,
so.
that's so exciting.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
that.
And you are a mimic, like you're a mirror image of me in a male form, obviously, of all of the issues that I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
The food issues, the thyroid issues, like everything.
Well, you don't look like you have thyroid issues. Like, you look really healthy. Your skin looks good. No, that.
When you wake up in the morning, what's your motivating factor for doing this type of work?
Yeah, at the conference just today, probably 20 or 30 people have come up and said, this work changed my life. Like, thank you so much. And I look back at what would have happened in my life had someone given me all this knowledge when I was 20. Like, the amount of struggle and suffering and effort that I spent, and the amount of money, to be honest, to learn all these things, I really would have rather done something else with all that time. I'm grateful that I learned these things and now I can share them. But what motivates me is I just look back, if someone had just told me this, it would have changed the entire trajectory of my life. And I'm here, and like every day, people are coming up and saying, like, the trajectory of my life was changed. So whatever I do today, if I can help more people understand these things about the body that aren't well known, I know that like it amplifies like hundreds of thousands of times, because every hour for the rest of those lives that are touched by the knowledge, they're better, like they can do more. And I also know that when people have control of their biology this way, that they're nicer. Like, you feel better, so you're less cranky. And when people are less cranky, like, the world's kind of a nicer place.
Yeah, it's true. That increased fat makes your hormones just work that much better.
Yeah.
So you're that much nicer. Someone is using a blood sugar monitor like you've done in the past, right, to test your blood sugar after you've eaten.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the range that you would give somebody if they were to try to mimic that?
I look more at fasting blood sugar versus postprandial.
Okay.
When you eat, sometimes there's a very sudden, very short-lived spike, like 120 or even 140, and you want to minimize that too, which is why you don't eat sugar.
Right.
But that might only last for a short period, and you might not even pick it up. So what I do is I say, look at your morning or your fasting, and look for 87, which is a classical anti-aging number, which isn't necessarily a training number, but if you're fat adapted and you're doing what I recommend, fat and protein in the morning, do your carbs in the evening, and not too many of them, and not sugar, but more of the starches that don't have a lot of anti-nutrients with them. If you're doing that, you should be able to maintain right around 87, even 85 is good. If you're under 90, you're kind of doing okay. But 87, there's some really interesting research around anti-aging. So you want to live a long time? Great. It turns out that people who perform really well right now also are going to live a long time. So there's a correlation. So do the things that make you live a long time so you'll feel better and perform better now. 87 is the number.
That's amazing. Great information. Okay. If you could give health advice to your younger self, what would it be?
The most important thing that I would say is that a calorie is not a calorie, fat is not fat, protein is not protein, and carbs are not carbs. When I was a kid, I used to carbohydrates. Coca-Cola is a carbohydrate. Margarine is a fat. And it's just not that simple to say fat, protein, or calories, because some proteins are poisonous, like spider venom. And some proteins are good for you, like eggs. So just understanding that it's not about number of calories, it's not about net buckets of these big buckets, it's what does that specific food do to you? I also would have told myself, eat food that's actually food versus manufactured stuff. And when you do eat manufactured stuff, which all of us do, it needs to be made out of real food, and it needs to still have its integrity intact. We live in a world where it's very normal to have food that's made for you, like the Bulletproof bars, like even the brain octane oil, which is one of the center pieces of how I feel and how I function. It comes from coconut. It's the fatty acids from coconut, but it's just the most effective ones. I'm getting rid of the less effective stuff, but it's still real food. And that kind of thing matters. When I was a kid, Pop-Tarts and Pizza Hut are real foods, and I didn't know that they weren't.
All right, okay. That's a good thing. Number 4 is, what's your long-term goal for Bulletproof Company? I can see it going kind of like a naturopathic, started kind of going that way, but maybe even just a naturopathic line of doctors that do everything holistic for your company.
There are, the number one goal for Bulletproof is actually to show people what it's like, even just for one day, to feel the way you're capable of feeling. Because I believe that if I can just demonstrate it one time, that people will then make a whole bunch of changes, many of which have nothing to do with buying Bulletproof anything, but they'll change the way they breathe. They'll have some sea salt in the morning so their adrenals are more relaxed during the day. They'll just make small changes, which makes them better people. And that has a big societal effect. So instead of managing for like the highest profit margin or something like that, what I'm doing is I'm saying, how do I build the company so that it can reach the most people? Like, all I need to do is put Bulletproof coffee in someone's hand, and they'll say, wait, the quality of my day was different because I didn't have food cravings this morning. Like, the sugar cravings were gone. Like, what happened? And then they'll start looking at it and say, oh, wait, maybe when there's mold in my other foods, that's changing how I feel, because it does. Maybe this brain octane oil does something different. Oh, it put me in a state where I have ketones in my body even though I wasn't fasting. Like, and then all of a sudden, we now have people walking around with 2 sources of energy in their body instead of 1. And like, you can do a lot with extra energy like that.
Right.
So I would just want big scale, but it's not about like maximizing profit, it's about maximizing reach. And to do that, there's a radio show. And so it's almost like a media company combined with a few carefully selected, carefully engineered products that enhance human performance. So if it makes you feel better, makes you perform better, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to talk about it, and the things I can't get somewhere else, I'm going to add those to the line. You'll see it in grocery, you'll see it in doctor's offices, and you'll see it in the food aisle as well as the supplement aisle. So I don't see a difference between food and supplements. Supplements are concentrated food when you do them right. There are things that are already in food.
Right.
And
if you do them right, right.
Yeah, that's right. And there are a lot of doctors who carry the Bulletproof line in their practices already. They print out the Bulletproof Diet roadmap and they give it to patients and say, try this before drugs. So I will support those doctors and probably eventually even like help to train them. Right now, we just launched Bulletproof Executive Coach Training. So we trained our first 160 coaches. The beginning of the training was 2 days ago. And these are people who are not medical professionals. Well, maybe 10 or 20 of them are medical people, but these are people who are looking to help people across all facets of life, but we're giving them basic nutritional knowledge, but also a lot of like emotional and psychological and energetic stuff that layers on top of having functioning biology. And we're teaching them to say, if the biology is not working and you can't handle this with basically food, then you need to go to the functional medicine. You need to go to the naturopaths. You need to go even to chiropractors, whatever the appropriate specialties are. But they're the more holistic types of specialties. Because the guy who's going to fix your broken arm is not the guy who's going to fix your chronic tiredness.
You could only take one of your Bulletproof products with you to a desert island. Which product would you take?
Well, I would have to say I would take the Bulletproof bars. The reason is that Bulletproof bars, you can eat one of those. It's got collagen protein in it, and it's also got brain octane oil in it. So I'm going to get really good sources of fat and really good sources of protein, and I could live off those for quite a while before. They're not a whole food replacement. They don't have the full range of all vitamins and minerals possible. So eventually I'd be kind of sad, but I could eat seaweed and I'd be fine. So.
Okay, good answer. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to present and answer these questions with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for recording.